What's up everyone and welcome back to the World History Channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. Annie Oakley's 15 baddest facts show that she can beat any man in 1860. Phoebe Ann Mosey was born in Darke County, Ohio, to a poor family. Once she became Annie Oakley, though, she became one of the great heroines of the Old West. The facts show her knack for sharpshooting. Among other awesome Annie Oakley feats, she could shoot lit cigarettes out of people's mouths and hit items located behind her, using just a mirror to help her aim. As part of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, she and her husband, Frank Butler, traveled with other American frontier heroes. In 1925, Oakley was in a car accident, which ended his career. She broke her hip and ankle in the collision. She passed away in 1926, and although her official cause of death was pernicious anemia, some claim that her injuries were to blame. Just 18 days after she passed away, her husband passed away. He appeared to be unable to continue living with his 50-year-old wife. Stories about Oakley throughout her life solidify her place in history alongside the powerful and awe-inspiring women of the Wild West, regardless of how humble she died. At age 8, she acquired her first firearm. According to the narrative, Oakley first acquired a firearm when she was 8 years old. She had learned from her father how to hunt and trap, which was unusual for a young girl to do in the 1860s. "I was 8 years old when I made my first shot, and I still consider it one of the best shots I ever made," Oakley was once quoted as saying. She apparently shot a squirrel in the head with her heavy muzzle loader, killing it instantly. She played a leading role in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Oakley and Frank Butler began traveling and working as sharpshooters together shortly after their marriage. Possibly inspired by the Oakley neighborhood in Cincinnati, where they lived, Butler adopted the moniker Annie Oakley. They joined the Sells Brothers Circus in 1884, but they only stayed with them for a year because Buffalo Bill's Wild West show offered a better opportunity. This was one of the most successful touring groups in the United States at the time. The performing troupe visited 130 cities in the United States and even Canada and parts of Europe. She beat a traveling marksman's shot when Oakley was just 16 years old. She met Frank Butler, who would become her future husband. He was a traveling marksman at the time, demonstrating his shooting abilities to any paid audience he could find. His main trick was a 25-shot sequence that he rarely missed. When Butler first met Oakley, he offered to take on sharpshooters in the area. Jack Frost, a hotel owner from Cincinnati who happened to be in the area, gave Oakley enough money to take on Butler's challenge. Oakley made all 25 shots, while Butler missed one. He took the time to get to know her because he was so impressed by her skills. In 1876, they got married. Through its thin edge, she could shoot a playing card in half. In 1885, Butler and Oakley joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. In the raucous reviews, champion markswoman, Oakley did a number of sharpshooting tricks. She could even hit the cards' thin edges when she shot holes in them with playing cards. She had the ability to pop bottles' corks. She could hit targets by looking in the mirror and aiming backwards. Oakley also competed in shooting competitions, winning numerous medals and ribbons for her abilities. Sitting Bull became friends with her. After seeing Oakley perform, Sitting Bull, a holy man for the Hunkpapa Lakota tribe, became good friends with her. In order to acquire an autographed photograph of her, Sitting Bull reportedly sent her a note and $65. She responded with the image but also personally contacted him, and the two developed a rapport. He called her Watanya Cecilia, or Little Sure Shot, and gave her slippers made by his tribe. She once shot Kaiser Wilhelm II in the mouth with a cigarette. One of Oakley's greatest feats was shooting the cigarette's lit end off, which was one of her best tricks. In fact, she was so good at this that in 1890, Kaiser Wilhelm II let her aim at a cigarette he was smoking. She not only removed the lighted portion of the cigarette cleanly, but she also removed the whole thing from his mouth. After World War I started, Oakley supposedly quipped that she wished she had missed that shot. During the Spanish-American War, she offered to lead an all-female regiment. During the Spanish-American War, she offered to lead an all-female regiment. Image courtesy of Wikimedia Commons and Roland Bonaparte. During William McKinley's presidency in 1898, the Spanish-American War broke out. At the time, women did not fight in wars. They were mainly on the sidelines, handling nursing duties and doing the soldiers' laundry. Therefore, President McKinley's denial of Oakley's request for assistance on the front lines is not surprising. She offered to deploy a regiment of female sharpshooters on the front lines at no cost to the government, complete with their own uniforms and weapons. During World War I, Oakley made a similar offer that was rejected once more. She won a lawsuit against William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst was a media mogul whose company, Hearst Communications, controlled hundreds of American newspapers. Two of his Chicago-based newspapers in 1903 reported that Oakley was addicted to cocaine and had stolen a man's pants during a drug binge. This was not true. The actual perpetrator was a burlesque performer from Chicago who posed as the sharpshooter. Oakley took Hearst to court for libel. She was awarded $27,000 in cash, and Hearst completely retracted the story. During World War I, she raised funds for the Red Cross. During World War I, Oakley attempted to join the military and offered to form an all-female sharpshooter regiment. The battlefront was still regarded as the domain of men, so her offer was declined. Instead, Oakley performed for the troops and raised funds for the Red Cross to support the war effort. She also supported a number of military charities. She appeared in international shows. Oakley showcased her sharpshooting abilities throughout the world as a solo performer and as a member of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. She performed for European royalty and participated in an 1887 shooting competition at Wimbledon Common. Performing at Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee was one of her career highlights. She also performed in stage plays like The Western Girl and had Thomas Edison record her shooting skills with one of his new inventions, an early video camera. She motivated other women to acquire shooting skills. During the Civil War, women made progress by starting soldiers' aid societies, starting hospitals, becoming nurses, and even starting groups to help soldiers adjust to regular life after the war was over. However, women were still expected to be housewives. Despite the norms of the time, Oakley's unflinching sharpshooting prowess inspired many other women to learn to shoot. She designed her own outfits. Oakley wanted to keep her femininity on and off the stage despite her manly job and gun skills. She wore Western-style blouses and skirts that she made herself in her spare time, rather than men's attire during her act. She also acted modestly and pursued feminine interests like embroidery. When she was a teenager, she hunted for a grocery store. Oakley's shooting prowess not only paid for her mother's mortgage while she was a teenager, but also put food on the table. Oakley was employed by Katzenberger's, a nearby grocery store. She sold the game she killed in their store and to a Cincinnati area hotel. She was raised in a poor house for part of her childhood. In 1860, Phoebe Ann Moses, also known as Annie, was born in rural Darke County, Ohio. When she was 7 years old, her father died, leaving her mother to care for 7 children alone. Annie, the second youngest child, was placed in a poorhouse at Darke County Infirmary for some time. At the time, this was common practice, and most areas had one of these services run by the local or state government for poor women and children. Around the age of 14, Oakley was reunited with her mother and siblings. Her mother had remarried by that point. She is the name given to free tickets. At the end of the 19th century, ushers and admission staff would punch holes in tickets for people who went to live shows. The theater owners could use the holes to keep track of how many people attended each show, indicating that the tickets had been used. When given to attendees, the free tickets, those given to reporters, VIPs and others, had already been punched with holes. In reference to the hole-filled playing cards that she produced on stage, these free tickets were given the moniker Annie Oakley's. These 15 badass facts demonstrate Annie Oakley's ability to outclass and outshoot any man of her time. She was the ultimate representation of frontier toughness, fearlessness and skill. Phoebe Ann Mosey was born in 1860 in rural Darke County, Ohio. She was poor as a child, but by the time she took on the stage name Annie Oakley, she had become a famous sharpshooter and one of the Wild West's most famous women. She was not only impressive but also impossible to stop. She shot her first gun when she was just 8 years old. It was a muzzle loader that was so heavy it hardly fit in her hands. She killed a squirrel right through the head and kept the meat perfectly. She began her journey toward greatness at that moment. She was out shooting professional shooters by the age of 16, including Frank Butler, who was so impressed that he married her. They performed together in one of the biggest touring shows of the late 19th century, Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show, alongside Sitting Bull and other frontier legends. She could use only a mirror to shoot the edge of a playing card from a distance of several yards, pop bottle corks, and hit targets while facing the opposite direction. Oakley's talent was not just for show. She pulled the same prank on Germany's Kaiser Wilhelm II and shot a lighted cigarette right out of their mouth multiple times. She joked that she wished she'd been there when World War I started. She offered to lead a regiment of female sharpshooters into combat at her own expense, complete with uniforms and weapons, during the Spanish-American War. President McKinley, who couldn't see beyond the norms of the time, turned her down. During World War I, she made the same offer, which she again rejected. Oakley's fame only increased despite those rejections. She became close friends with Sitting Bull, who gave her the name Watanya Cecilia, also known as Little Sure Shot, and gave her tribal slippers. Outside of the arena, she also competed with powerful men. Oakley fought back when the newspapers owned by media tycoon William Randolph Hearst falsely reported that she was a cocaine addict who had stolen a man's pants. She demonstrated that she was not only a sharpshooter but also a fighter for her name and honor when she won her libel suit, receiving $27,000 in damages and a full retract. Even though she lost her performing career, a devastating automobile accident in 1925 that broke her hip and ankle didn't dampen her spirit. Some believe that her injuries played a role in her death in 1926, which was said to have been caused by fatal anemia. Tragically, her beloved husband passed away just 18 days later. The story of Annie Oakley's life is one of grit, skill, and unwavering determination. It demonstrates that she was capable of competing with anyone, male or female, regardless of the circumstances or the era. Her name is still associated with American resilience and wild courage in both folklore and history.